So I wanted to open up this topic a little bit and just kind of talk about it like a little bit at a time. I'm sorry, my phone is making noises. A little bit at a time because it's a lot to process. I feel like it's a really important topic to just open and then like keep it open and just keep talking about it and keep exploring it. And this is what it is. It's like, okay, so what is the difference in a narcissistic personality disorder and just someone having narcissistic traits? I know this is a big one for a lot of people, because if you're in here and you're taking a look at your past and your relationships and you're questioning, those relationships, and you're questioning whether people in your life may actually have a personality disorder, that's a pretty big deal. Okay. And I know it's a pretty big deal to wrap your head around and to even consider that someone that you love and care about might be suffering from an actual, like a mental illness. It's a very difficult thing to see, to accept, and just to be able to see and feel the truth of that. And not only that, but then also how that may have been affecting you, how it may have impacted you over time, whether it's big T trauma, little T trauma, it doesn't matter. So that's a pretty big ball of wax. It's a pretty big bite to take and chew. And then there's just the question of, well, okay, am I dealing with an actual personality disorder? Or am I dealing with just someone who has a lot of narcissistic traits, or what also can be called narcissistic injury? Meaning, narcissistic injury, a term meaning something that can occur from childhood trauma, in which a person who experiences childhood trauma can end up expressing behaviors that are narcissistic in nature. And can look a lot like the traits of a narcissistic personality disorder, but there can be distinct differences between this person and someone who actually has a disorder. And so without getting too deep into that, what I want to say about that is that, as you continue to explore and you continue to define and you continue to question, because you're going to question yourself over and over again. What I want to say to that is this. What's most important in this process is determining how someone's behavior is affecting you and affecting your relationship. That's really what it's about, okay? I'm not dismissing narcissism here. I'm not saying we shouldn't be aware of it, that we shouldn't be able to define it, which I think we should. I think we have every right to be able to define it. I'm saying that what matters in the end is the way the behaviors are affecting you, how you're responding to them, right? Because behaviors that are unhealthy, whether they're narcissistic or not, are going to affect you negatively. They're going to impact you negatively. And it's all about, what are you doing about it? First of all, are you recognizing behaviors as unhealthy? Whether it's someone else's behavior towards you or it's your behavior towards them in response to them, that dynamic. We talk about the dynamic. You have to be involved in it for it to work. A narcissistic dynamic requires two people. And so you have to be involved in the dynamic to make it work. So how are you responding to unhealthy behaviors? That's the most important thing, I think, to remember, because, I think we can get a little too wrapped around the axle about, am I right about this? Is this person a narcissist? If they did this and this and this, does it mean they're a narcissist? And I thought they were a narcissist, and then they did this, and I thought maybe they weren't. And I just feel like there's a point in which we can just get too kind of invested in that investigation of what is narcissism. So it's like, I feel like there's cycles, I feel like there's awareness. There's an awareness phase where you're learning, and then you're like, wow, maybe this has been happening to me. And maybe you even have determined, yeah, this person in my life has all these traits, and definitely. But then you might start doubting yourself. You might go through these cycles of doubting. So when you're in a cycle of doubting, okay, I just want to bring you back to this. If the doubt is about whether someone has a narcissistic personality disorder, I just want to remind you that nobody can know that. No one can know it. I mean, a therapist might not even be able to know this. A diagnosis is simply a set of behaviors that are determined by a manual. That a bunch of people who are really smart, a bunch of psychologists and people got together and created this manual and put these behaviors in this, a list of behaviors and this diagnostic technique, and then called it this narcissistic personality disorder, right? Which is helpful to those of us that are on the other side of it. But even a therapist isn't necessarily going to be able to diagnose someone with this, even if that's who they're sitting across from. And the chances of someone with this personality disorder ending up across from a therapist for any other reason than to just get more narcissistic supply is very low. So there's very, very few diagnoses going on out there versus maybe how many people are actually suffering from this disorder. And it is a disorder. But again, what I want to say to you is that just stay focused on the behaviors and whether they are healthy or not, whether they are toxic or not, whether they are supportive of the kinds of traits that you want to have in your relationships. Going back to thinking about, how do you want your relationships to look? How do you want to be interacting with people? How do you want to feel when you're with others? Do you want to feel like, this person's emotionally safe and I can share authentically and I can have a different viewpoint, or opinion, and maybe even disagree with this person, and that's okay, that we can still respect each other's right to an opinion, or we can respect each other's, ability to have their own reality or their own truth or their own perspective or occurrence around things. This is an emotionally intelligent way of being, right? So if that's the case, if that's what you want, I'm just posing that. I don't know if that's what you want, but I'm posing that to you. And then this relationship comes along, and you're in this relationship, and then you're getting, responses from this person like being jealous of you, or being combative, or not being able to tolerate your opinion if it's different from theirs, or not being able to tolerate your successes that don't somehow benefit them, not being able to allow you to have like resources outside of that relationship, or maybe connections at work, that are colleagues that you share things with, and it has nothing to do with that person, and they're jealous, or however they express, in ways that aren't supportive of you just being your authentic self, having the right to have relationships and connections with other people, not being supportive of wanting to learn new things, or anything that might somehow threaten that person's sense of control over you, the ability to manipulate you, to make sure you're always available, for whatever supply they're getting from you. These are all signs of a very unhealthy dynamic.